Political analyst Melinda Crane joins us now. Hello, Melinda.
Hi.
Great to see you. From an international point of view, what really is at stake with Germany's elections?
You know, this election really couldn't come at a more consequential time. We're seeing the Trump administration questioning the transatlantic order, the alliance that has been at the root of security in Europe since World War II. We're seeing members of the Trump administration bashing their European allies, including quite explicitly Germany. And the fact is that has consequences not only for resolution of the war in Ukraine, but also for security in Europe as a whole. And for a very long time, Germany has been punching below its weight when it comes to defense and security. This is Europe's largest economy, and yet in many ways it has been a military dwarf. And going forward, we are definitely going to see Europe and Germany needing to play a much stronger role in their own security and defense, but also in upholding the system of laws and institutions that we refer to as the rules-based order. That's the order that was supposed to ensure that in the world, it's not might makes right that governs, but institutions and laws. And the U.S. definitely does not intend to play a role upholding that order any longer. So Europe is going to have to depend on leadership from its biggest member countries, and certainly that is Germany. Right. Whoever takes over the chancellery now is going to need to play a leading role both in this country and in Europe in ensuring that they can rise to the challenges ahead.
I mean, and the challenges are definitely quite a lot, it seems, talking about relationship between Germany or Europe generally and the US. It will mean that whoever the next chancellor will be would have to have a way of communicating with US President Donald Trump. Polls currently suggest that's going to be Friedrich Merz, the leader of the conservative bloc. How different would he do that compared to how Olaf Scholz has been doing it?
He has said that he won't be timid. He said he knows that Donald Trump respects people who stand up to him, who are strong leaders. And it's likely that Trump will have somewhat more respect for Friedrich Merz, because Friedrich Merz has worked not only in politics, but in the private sector. He has worked for the big investment company BlackRock. So that may be useful for Merz, and nonetheless, let's make no mistake, certainly Donald Trump has his eye on Germany. It is beyond a doubt that he will impose tariffs on this country, which is an export master, depends on exports, so that's going to hurt. And whether Friedrich Merz can really make the kind of deals that could ensure that Germany has a good working relationship with the U.S., that remains to be seen.
Right. I mean, a lot really remains to be seen, right? We're looking at the popularity of Germany's far-right AfD, it's rising. We've seen people like Elon Musk, presidential advisor to US President Donald Trump, clearly an interest in the far-right party AfD. What is that really looking like?
J.D. Vance as well, the vice president, spoke at the Munich Security Conference and essentially gave an election recommendation for the far-right AfD, which is absolutely without precedent. Why does the U.S. like the AfD?
Why?
Well, let's say certain members of the Trump administration. It's because the technocrats are libertarians. They want a complete rollback of regulation. They want to decimate the state as a whole, what we're seeing Elon Musk doing in the US. And why do they want that? They want that because it will enable their social media platforms to thrive. Regulation on hate speech, content regulation on disinformation, that costs them money. They want to roll back regulation for their own profit, these technocratic billionaires who are surrounding Donald Trump. And therefore, the AfD, with its libertarian platform, is sympathetic to them. But is this because they have a noble belief in free speech? Don't believe it for a moment. It is driven by profit.
Wow. So that sounds a bit scary almost, right? Merz, one of the the elephant in the room when it comes to elections in Germany, obviously, is Russia's war in Ukraine. Merz is promising strong leadership in Europe. What impact is that going to have on the war in Ukraine now?
Most likely, the Europeans are going to have to step up and provide a great deal more support for Ukraine if they want to prevent that Ukraine has to submit to a dictated peace from Washington and Moscow. And that will mean considerably more military spending in Germany, also in Europe as a whole, and it will in fact mean far, far more coordination between European military forces, European armies. Now, that is a very challenging task. The European Commission in Brussels has taken first steps to make it happen, but it will, as I said before, require a very strong role from Germany as the continent's largest economy and with its largest military force. Europe can do this, but it is going to take money, it's going to take coordination, it's going to take leadership. And the question is not only can Friedrich Merz play that kind of a leadership role, he's certainly indicated that he sees the need, but will he have the coalition that backs him? That will be a crucial question, and we will begin to see a possible shape of a coalition after 6 p.m. German time today.
But quick one on this before I let you go, Melinda. Is there any scenario where Europe can defend itself without support from the US?
There is. I was looking at the numbers, and in fact, the NATO positions in Europe are strong even without the US. They match Russia, potentially. The problem is the coordination in procurement, the coordination between the fighting forces of the different member countries, the coordination in leadership. Who would command a European force, be it a European army or essentially a coalition of different European military units? But all of those are questions for which we do not yet have answers. Just as the US is moving at warp speed with this sea change in foreign policy, Europe is going to have to move at warp speed. And that is not easy for Europe.
Right. Melinda Crane, always a pleasure. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.